Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel, and today is the day I am giving my predictions for the Premier League table for the 2022-23 season, and I am so excited for this season to start already, man. What do you think is going to happen? There's so many storylines, there's so many narratives, there's so much drama which is going to happen. Do you think Manchester City or Liverpool are going to win the Premier League? Both of them basically signing a centre forward. Do you think Spurs and Conte are dark horse, with obviously Kane and Son still up front, with them strengthening, getting more depth within their squad? Do you even think Chelsea can make the top four? Do you think they'll finish 5th or 6th? Do you think teams like Newcastle or West Ham can sneak into the top 4 this season? However, before I go into the video and give my predictions, you know what I'm going to say. Make sure you guys like, comment, hit that big subscribe button right there, and make sure you guys in the comment section, I want to know religiously, who do you think is going to finish where? So the team I have finishing 10th is Crystal Palace, and I like them a lot. I think Patrick Vieira is a very talented young manager who has proven himself last season. It looked like he transitioned the side seamlessly from an old age defensive style type football team to a more young, energetic team which loves to provide entertainment, being on the front foot and attacking the opposition. The way he's embedded young new players last season like Mitchell, Guehi, obviously Elise and Eze, with the old experiences like Zaha on the left wing, has been magical, and Crystal Palace fans should be even more optimistic going into this season because they have another year under their belt with this new system, the players, so they should be able to perform this at an even higher level going into this season. I feel like going forward especially, Crystal Palace have so many attacking options which they can start. Obviously, Edouard and Benteke are not up to their level, but they can be impact subs, impact players who can come off the bench, blended with talented players, like I said, with Zaha, Elise, Eze, other players going forward as well. I think Crystal Palace are really going to be a threat, and most of these players are still young. Most of these players are just going to go strength to strength, develop their craft, and become even better players. And the thing which I love about Crystal Palace the most, I love their recruitment scheme. It feels like they find diamonds in the rough, and they seems like they found another one in Decore coming from the French league. He has a good reputation of being a tireless hard worker, covering ground amongst the pitch, driving the ball, similar to a player like Conor Gallagher, who we know was instrumental to their season last year. We know that we can trust Crystal Palace, and we know we can trust, most importantly, Patrick Vieira to developing young aspiring players who obviously have the talent. So the next team I have finishing in 9th place is Wolves, and call me a coward, but I went for the most safest option, who I know their DNA when it comes to playing a defensive style of football. I love defense, I love hard workers, I love people who grind out results, and we know this is part of Bruno Lage and Wolves' philosophy, and they were very good last season, obviously conceding the 5th least amount of goals last year. You know what they say, if you don't concede that many goals, you're going to be accumulating a lot of points because you're not going to be losing games. Obviously you'll get the odd 0-0, 1-1 draws, and watching Wolves will not be entertaining like watching Manchester City, but at the end of the day, they will be grinding out results, grinding out points, getting 1-0s, 0-0s, 2-1s. They still have Premier League proven players who know the hardships to deal with a Premier League season if they go on some sort of bad form. They still have leaders like Martinho, Neves within the midfield, providing quality and defensive work rate. I love Cody at the back, marshalling the centre backs next to him, and Jimenez, we know if he has another season under his belt, another year removed from the horrific injury, we know what he can be because he was once able to score 15 goals in a Premier League season. I cannot see them going anything higher than this because we know Wolves has always been the question mark of will they get enough goals. We know Adama Traore is returning from Barcelona. He is not scoring anything. Even if the goals were massive, he's not going to put the ball into the back of the net. Obviously, Jimenez, is he still the same player? There's question marks there. I know they signed Hwang from RB Leipzig, but he didn't set a world of light last season when he was in the Premier League either. So going forward, I don't feel like they have enough to put teams away. So the next team I have finishing in 8th place, I'm very excited, and it's Newcastle United. And I feel like, you know what? Newcastle fans should be very excited. They should be electrified going into the new year, especially since obviously Mike Ashley, the new regime, has come in and actually invested within the football club. Although this summer they haven't really made that many star-studded signings yet, we know last season in January they made so many key signings who delivered straight away. So with a full season under their belt, a pre-season, also adapting to Eddie Howe's philosophy, why can't they push on and develop and get even more success going into this season? And the thing which I love about Newcastle so much, yes, they have the players, yes, they have the talent, yes, they have the investment, but Eddie Howe is a proven, experienced Premier League manager manager who plays football the right way, going forward, and defensively he has made them sound. Look at last year, Newcastle were pretty much rock bottom before he came. He literally turned the club around, helping them finish in 11th place. Imagine Newcastle playing with a full season under Eddie Howe. Imagine the results they can produce. If you looked at all the results where Newcastle got Eddie Howe ever since he came, they are ranked 6th place within the Premier League. So it's not far-fetched for me to say they'll finish 8th place because they have been on an epic run ever since Eddie Howe has been taken in charge. And also about Newcastle, I just love the players. I love the depth. I love the acquisitions. We know Trippier and Burn defensively has provided Premier League experience and stability. But what I love about Newcastle so much now is they have different options going forward. Before, it just felt like you had to stop St. Maximin from playing and you would surely get the result. But now there's Gamares. Now there's Wilson coming back from injury. We know Joe Linton has found his position within that midfield. We know Joe Willock can get goals from midfield. There's so many options, so much talent. With a good coach with Eddie Howe, surely they'll be able to pull off great results to get into 8th place. So the team I have finishing in 7th place is West Ham, and it's a no-brainer. Of course West Ham are going to finish 7th. In back-to-back seasons, they finished 6th and 7th. And I thought European football was going to take a toll of them last season, but it looked like it unaffected them even though they reached the semi-finals of the Europa League. And we know West Ham have provided strength and depth within their squad now, signing key players. The centre-back from the French League, again, he's going to provide strength and depth and competition with players like Zuma, Dawson, and even Ogbonna returning back to West Ham. Also going forward, it's not going to look like a lost cause with Antonio only being the striker at the club. In buying a player like Scamacca, who we know is powerful, can run, he's strong, can hold up the ball, and can most importantly score goals, which we know Antonio has lacked in his last few seasons at West Ham. So I feel like West Ham are going to be a very deadly team, and also still having their key spine of players like Rice, Souček, Dawson, Zuma, Antonio is going to provide them dividends with consistency because they are used to playing David Moyes' model of football. So honestly, West Ham got the blend of physicality and stoutness when it comes to the midfield battle of Souček and Rice, and they have that little bit of quality in the final third of Bowen, who's going to have even more motivation going into this year because he's going to really want to get picked for the World Cup in the 2022 winter. So a team which I got finishing in 6th place, it's a no-brainer. It is Manchester United. And you know what? Maybe I'm overrating them. Maybe I'm overestimating them, what they're going to do this season. I think there's going to be so much growing pains going into this year because we know Ten Hag is going to bring a brand new philosophy, a brand new playing style to the players who are not going to be used to this because they have not been used to getting coached for the last 2 or 3 seasons or so. I feel like Ten Hag is an excellent manager. His philosophy is proven. We've seen that Ajax in the latter stages of the Champions League, it can really impact games and it can get results when needed to be. So going into the season, I think Manchester United fans should be more optimistic about the playing style rather than the results because we know it's going to be a long-term project. We're not going to see results right away. It's going to take some time, especially with Manchester United not getting the key signings they want like De Jong. And the thing which I doubt about Manchester United really breaking in the top 4, if you look at the personnel they have, it's just not Ten Hag's profile of players. If we look at the striker position of Martial, we know Ten Hag wants to play on the front foot. He wants to pressurize defenders on the opposition. Martial is not one of those players like a Jesus or Firmino who's going to chase people down, same as Cristiano Ronaldo. If we look at the midfield, we know Ten Hag wants to provide intensity, cutting-edge passes within the final third. We know McFred are looking to start the season, and they're not like the profile of a player like De Jong. If we look at the centre-back positions as well, Maguire, we know Ten Hag is looking to start him because he's Manchester United's captain, but if Ten Hag wants to play a pressurising style of football, Maguire is going to have to play in a high-line system to suffocate the opposition within their own half. But we know Maguire one-on-one, he needs protection. We know he's vulnerable. However, I do like some of Manchester United signings. Players like Eriksen, primarily proven, has quality within the final third to pick out a pass, take some pressure off Bruno Fernandes because they have been Bruno Fernandes centric in the past. Also, we know Martinez has the spirit of a lion. He has intensity, he has work rate. He's going to make sure strikers know he's there. He's going to assert his presence. But at the end of the day, I feel like Ten Hag doesn't know his best starting lineup. It's going to take him a while to know his best starting lineup. And even if he has his best starting lineup, it's not going to be that finished product. It's not going to be that polished article like a Jurgen Klopp side or even Pep Guardiola. So the next team I have finishing in 5th place, it actually might surprise people. I got Chelsea FC. And I know people are going to be surprised and shocked, like Chelsea, They finished third. They won the Champions League 2 years ago. They still have the same manager, pretty much relatively the same defence. Why on earth are they going to drop out of the top 4 this season? I feel like they've gotten weaker, dare I say it. I know Lukaku had to go. Werner isn't the finished article when it comes to getting goals at the end of the day. But I feel like if you tell me your front three, the best front three you have at your disposal is Havertz, Mount, and even Raheem Sterling, that's not scary enough. Yes, Mount will scrape and get 10 goals within the Premier League season. Yes, Sterling will rack up 13 to 14 goals, but that just ain't enough. And if you look at your rival clubs, teams like Tottenham, teams like Liverpool, teams like Manchester City, they got proven, polished, finished articles who we know will get at least 16 to 17 goals in a Premier League season. I feel like Chelsea lack this, especially in their depth when it comes to their front players. Hudson-Odoi, Ziyech, fringe players, they ain't really putting fear into your soul. You're not really scared of that. And defensively, dare I say it, have they gotten weaker? I feel like there's a good argument to say so. Koulibaly instead of Rudiger. I know Koulibaly has been one of the best centre-backs in the world for the last few years or so, but he's on the decline. He is 31, and Rudiger last season had one of the best seasons a centre-back has had for Chelsea since John Terry. We know Thiago Silva is another year older, and he's at 37, 38, and we can't trust him, and he's not dependable to play up to 38 games. The right centre-back as well, Chalobah, I don't think he's good enough as of yet. We know he still has mistakes in his games. Azpilicueta, an Asian poor centre-back as well at Chelsea. Chelsea defensively, I feel like have gotten weaker. So what have Chelsea really gotten better at to finish within the top 4, especially with their rival clubs strengthening? So a team which I have finishing above Chelsea in 4th place, Arsenal FC. And I know people are thinking, what? Really? Arsenal FC finish above Chelsea? Arsenal finishing in the top 4 since the last time they did it was on Arsene Wenger? But hear me out, listen, they only didn't finish in the top 4 by 1 point last season, and now they've added strength and depth to the starting 11 to improve it. Now the squad is not looking as thin as it was last year because they've added real quality, real Premier League experience, and most importantly, winning mentality to spearhead themselves into a top 4 race. I like the signing of Zinchenko, who provides flexibility with the CDM role because we know he plays there for Ukraine, and the left back role when Tierney's injury. I love the signing of Jesus, who though is not the most clinical striker, he will get you goals, who is surely a substantial upgrade compared to Lacazette and an old-aged Aubameyang. And they still have quality players like Odegaard, Saka, Martinelli, young aspiring players who are just going to get better, especially with the heartache of last season not finishing in the top 4. They're just going to be raring to go this year to prove a point, prove a statement. They even signed Fabio Vieira, who has a great reputation in Portugal, performing well for Porto. And also, I'm not even talking about players like Smith Rowe, who scored, a double-digit Premier League goals, and he's not going to feature in the side. I just feel like Arsenal have way more goals within their squad compared to Chelsea, which will play a decisive part for them finishing in the top 4. I also like the centre-back acquisition of Saliba. I know obviously he came back from loan, but he's going to feel like a new signing. Tomiyasu is going to be returning back from injury, and we know how important his miss was in the latter half of last season because they had to play a downgrade of Cedric there. However, the reason why I can't predict Arsenal to finish any higher is because they're still lacking a CDM, a talisman, a player who can dictate play, control games within that role, the number 6 role, and it only takes an injury to Partey and literally Xhaka going wild and getting a red card for them to lack depth within that CDM role. And we know, let's be honest, those things are pretty likely to happen because we know Xhaka and Partey's reputations when it comes to that department. So the next team I have finishing in 3rd place is Tottenham Hotspur, and I honestly feel like they won't be challenged within this 3rd spot when it comes to next season. Imagine Tottenham Hotspur literally finished 4th place in the Premier League last season when they had left wing back Doherty. They were playing Davis, left centre back. They were playing players out of position, but Conte still was able to perform his magic to get Tottenham within a Champions League spot last season. So imagine with Conte, a world-class manager, having new signings which make sense, signings which will actually impact and improve their starting 11 and provide strength and depth when it comes to the Champions League, FA Cup and Carabao Cup games. Surely this is going to be enough for Tottenham to finish in a top 4 spot. I love the signings of Perisic, providing that winning mentality. He's not going to be phased when it comes to certain games within the Premier League. This guy has seen it all. World Cup finalist, lifting leagues in the Serie A. This guy has had a great career, and although he may be going on the down spiral, we know in a Conte system he's going to perform excellent. I also like the addition of Richarlison. Tottenham finally giving Harry Kane a rest, because Harry Kane has had to start so many games throughout the last few years or so because Tottenham have just been too lazy. The board have not wanted to provide a backup striker. But we saw Richarlison last season when he has been given the main man role as a player. He takes some responsibility, it doesn't faze him, and he performs. And we saw it at Everton, and I feel like he'll be able to make the step up, especially having a manager like Conte in his ear who's going to be revving him up for certain games. Also, Spence down the right wing back role, a young, hungry, aspiring fullback. We know he's going to be providing so much intensity, so much work rate and crossing ability as well for the forwards as well. So I feel like this season Tottenham do look more polished, do look more balanced compared to a last year team which felt more of a makeshift side. However, the thing which I trust and love about Tottenham so much is they just have the big three. They have the big three you can just rely on. One of the best managers in the world, Antonio Conte. We got Harry Kane and Son as well, forming that trio of the big three, who we know are shooing to get at least 35 goals between them, not including the assists they'll get for other players. And Kulusevski, still a young, aspiring player who is a team-oriented player, who doesn't really care about his numbers and wants to do the best for his team. I just feel like going forward, Tottenham look very dangerous. And we know Conte as a defensive wizard, as a defensive coach, defensive minded, he will be able to grind out results Tottenham do not deserve. So the team which I have finishing in second place, I got Manchester City finishing in second place. And what I'm about to say may feel like blasphemy for some people, may seem shocking, may seem like what the hell is he talking about? But I think Manchester City have taken a step back ever since signing Erling Haaland and selling their key players. What made Manchester City in essence so reliable, so dependable, so scary going forward was the ability to dominate games, pressurize teams, suffocate oppositions within their own half and play that tiki-taka free-flowing football. I don't know if Erling Haaland has the capabilities to adapt to this style of play, because we know he doesn't really want to be involved in the build-up play and be on the end of crosses, be on the end of passes. However, if he has to be involved on this build-up play, will this hinder Manchester City's performances overall, because he's not used to this, especially in the first half of the Premier League season? It's going to take a while for Manchester City and Haaland to adapt to one another. Also, what made Manchester City so special and scary is the fact that they could get goals from any area of the pitch. And I feel that the selling of Sterling, who we know has been one of Manchester City's most important players in the last 5 or 6 years or so, is going to be so crucial, because he's a shooting for 15 Premier League goals a season. Even Jesus, around 10 to 12 Premier League goals a season. Manchester City are banking that Erling Haaland, who is capable of getting 26, 27 goals in the Premier League season, is going to be replacing the output of these two key players. But we know Erling Haaland is prone to get injured. What happens if Erling Haaland gets injured? Also, Jack Grealish, we're not going to literally let him off the hook. He costed 100 million for Manchester City to sign. He's not getting the goals. He's not getting the output of a Sterling or a Jesus. How many goals did he get last year? Did he even reach double digits? So there's going to be pressure on these two guys to replace the output of a Sterling and a Jesus for next season. Also, don't get me wrong, I do know Manchester City did sign Alvarez, and in that Community Shield game against Liverpool, he did look lively. It did feel like he changed the tone of the game. But at the end of the day, is he going to be ready at such a young age coming from the Brazilian league to impact Manchester City straight away? I don't think so. So the team which I have finishing in first place, which is no surprise to any of you guys, is Liverpool FC. And you know what? I can talk about Jurgen Klopp, I can talk about the system, I can talk about the world-class players we have at our disposal, I can talk about the consistency, the work ethic, how everyone knows what their roles are within the side, how they impact the play. But we all know that. We've seen it for the last 3 or 4 years or so, and I just feel like it's not going to drop off. What we need to compare is Liverpool to Manchester City, because these two are the only teams which are really in the Premier League title race. And we know when all things are made even, when either team do not suffer injuries, there's pretty much only 2 to 3 points which split the two sides. We saw it in the 18-19 season, and obviously last year when Liverpool only lost by 2 to 3 points in the Premier League title race. And the thing which I have separating Liverpool to Manchester City is, I'm not saying Nunes is better than Haaland. However, what I am saying is that Nunes' style of play it's going to be a much more smoother and easier transition for him to play for Liverpool compared to Erling Haaland. We know Liverpool play much more direct. They love exploiting the spaces of the oppositions with their fast, quick, pacey wingers. We know Trent and Robertson are capable of providing so many chances per game. And I feel like Nunez's great movement, he's just going to accidentally get into dangerous areas to score goals. Also, I know that Sadio Mane, I'm not going to forget about that, is going to be a massive miss because he was that glue guy. He became Liverpool's most important player in the tail end of last year. But I just still feel like if Nunez is not firing, people are forgetting that Diogo Jota still lives, still plays for Liverpool FC, and he finished with the 5th most amount of goals in that Premier League season. So I feel like Liverpool have more options. They didn't get rid of that much depth. I know Origi and Minamino's gone, but I still feel like Carvalho, Elliott, the young aspiring players can make impacts in certain moments, not consistently, but when needed. And another important factor is that Liverpool are not going to have many key players starting or even featuring in the World Cup, which Manchester City are. Manchester City are going to have players like Kevin De Bruyne ran into the ground when Belgium reached the semi-finals of a World Cup. Bernardo Silva for Portugal, Rodri for Spain. He's literally their cog when it comes to that CDM role. But when it comes to Liverpool, we're going to have so many players not featuring in the World Cup. We got Diaz for Colombia, not in the World Cup. Salah for Egypt, not featuring in the World Cup. And then even if we go to certain players who are going to be there, Fabinho, we know Casemiro starts ahead of him for Brazil. We know Henderson, he doesn't feature for England because we got Phillips and Rice in that DM role. We know Thiago hasn't been featuring that much for Spain because Pedri, the younger aspiring players, are favoured for Spain. So I feel like that's an underestimated storyline, an underestimated advantage Liverpool are going to have in the latter half of next season because they're not going to be running into ground.